Okay, let's talk about the 3 elements of self-compassion. This is taken directly from Kristen Neff's work. Kristen Neff is a lead researcher in the science behind self-compassion. She has lots of great resources on her website that you can find. But we'll talk specifically about the 3 elements that are present in self-compassion. And the first is self-kindness, which we talked about in the first video when we were talking about compassion in general, is being kind to someone in the midst of their suffering or their pain, and then turning that towards ourselves. So self-kindness versus the judgment that would so often be there. Right? So offering ourselves kindness in the same way that we would someone that we love. There's also common humanity. Self-compassion includes a common humanity versus this sense of isolation that can sometimes be there, right? This sense that we're on our own, nobody knows our pain, it's unique to us somehow. But really, common humanity says this being a human is hard sometimes, right? Sometimes it's really hard, like painful things happen, hard conversations like take their toll, stressful situations, whatever it is, being human can be really challenging. And so self-compassion includes the awareness or the acknowledgement that I'm a human and you're a human, and sometimes being a human is hard. The third element of self-compassion is mindfulness. This means we are observing our experience with a little bit of distance from it. And this is distinct from what we might experience as an over-identification with our suffering. So we're in a situation that's really hard and challenging, and we don't make up stories about it or completely take it personal or add it to our sense of self like it becomes this new story that defines us. But self-compassion instead has an element of mindfulness so that we're observing ourselves in the situation and we can see the thoughts that are occurring, the emotions that are present, the physical manifestations perhaps that are accompanying our experience. And we do so with a little bit of distance to say, I'm having this experience, but I am not defined by this experience. So the 3 elements of self-compassion are self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness, right? And all 3 of those elements are present anytime we're practicing self-compassion. All right, so let's see if going forward, you might begin to practice noticing when there's judgment about your pain or your suffering or your experience, and seeing if you can take a little bit of a step back from it and then offer yourself a bit of kindness, or at least begin to consider what it could be like if you were able to employ self-compassion in those moments. And then going forward, we'll talk about some practical ways that we can do that.